What's up guys and welcome to the Surfing Connoisseur. If there was enough time to hide right now, I would be hiding given my result at Margaret River, but there isn't. It is literally straight from the Margaret River event, straight into Bells Beach. So with no further ado, here's my team. Given how quickly we're jumping into events, I'm not going to waste much time in this video. I want to get it up as soon as possible before the event, and because of the short window between, I really don't have too much time to edit this video as I normally would. So sorry for it lacking as much detail as it might normally do, but I didn't want to miss an event and I wanted to get you guys all the key bits of information. So for those of you who aren't aware, Bells Beach is a right-hand point break. The contest generally held at Bells Beach in the Bells Bowl, which is sort of the main break for the event, or is alternatively held at Winky Pop, which is also a right-hand point break, but quite a different style of wave. Here are my selections. I'm going to start as usual with the Surfer Mag version, and I've gone to a big effort this time with my first selection to free up enough finance to afford John Florence. Yes, it's expensive, but wow, the way he was surfing at Margaret River was ridiculous. I didn't watch much of the event because of the time differences here in the UK, and if I'm honest, we're disappointed in North Point Thursday, which kind of put me off the event as a whole. Although I do appreciate that it kind of got better when we went to main break, for surfing kind of improved, but main break's never been a wave I particularly enjoy, particularly when it's on like 4 in the morning where I live. That said, the clips of John Florence destroying main break were pretty difficult to miss. Given those forehand turns that he was putting down, I think he could well be unstoppable at Bells as well. In fact, it's kind of looking like we should maybe pack in the tour for this year, give John his trophy, let him have another title, and let's just free surf for the rest of the year, right? That said, he does have a bit of a checkered history at Bells, having only made it past round 3 once in the last 3 years, although on that occasion he did make it all the way to the semis when he was knocked out by Taj Burrow. Next up I'm going for Geordie Smith, who I think is a wave Bells that should really suit him. He's had some amazing waves in the past when I think back to watching him surf there, and his results to me yell that he's due a win there if anything. He came runner-up in 2016 to Matt Wilkinson, he made the quarters in 2015 and was knocked out in round 5 in 2014, so he's progressively improved his result over the last 3 years. The only way he can improve it now is by winning the event, and it really wouldn't surprise me if he's ringing the bell this year. Next up I'm going for Connor Coffin, whom I dropped Joel Parkinson in favour of. Although it was a wave you'd probably expect Joel to perform pretty well at, he was pretty expensive and I wanted to free up some finance to afford John. Connor also is a surfer you'd expect to perform pretty well at Bells. After all, it is a right-hand point break, which is what he's renowned for surfing so well. He's a relative newbie to the tour, having only competed at Bells once on the CT previously, and on that occasion he made it all the way to the quarterfinals when he was took out by Mick Fanning, so not a bad result on his one previous outing, especially when you factor in that he beat Mick Fanning in the 3-man round 40. He's also currently sitting in the top 10 this year, so he's on pretty good form. Next up I'm going ADS, Adriano de Souza. The Australian leg, as I've said before, is kind of his bread and butter. He always generally puts in pretty good showings. Bells Beach is no different. In fact, if anything, I think it suits him a lot better than Margaret River would do. I think his way of milking every last single tenth of the point out of wave kind of suits Bells quite nicely when he'll surf it all the way through to the inside. Although he was took out in round 3 by Mason Ho in 2016, prior to that he finalled in 2015 when he tied on points with Mick Fanning, and he made it to the quarters in 2014. Given that he's currently only worth $7,500, I think he's definitely worth the selection, especially when you factor in that he's actually sitting at 4th on the CT. That's a bargain, isn't it? Next up I'm going Mick Fanning. All I have to say is $4,500. Do I really need to explain my selection any further beyond that? I do. Okay, if I do, let's look at his results. He finished in the semis in 2016, his part-time year on tour, and he won the event in 2015 and 2014, and I think I'm right in saying, again, excuse me for any errors given the rushed nature of this video in comparison to normal, I would have checked my facts, but I think he's either the winningest or joint winningest surfer ever at Bells. If I'm wrong or right, correct me or let me know in the comments, that'd be massively appreciated. But for $4,500, he's going to be massively selected, but I think I've lost too many points by trying to be clever, by avoiding people who are going to be widely picked, and I'm just going for who I think is going to surf well this time. Next up I'm going Zeke Lau, who is arguably my first risky selection. He's a newbie to the tour and it's a notoriously difficult wave to surf, and I don't know how much Zeke surfed this wave. However, he's a really strong forehand surfer. He kind of proved at Snapper how well he could surf on right hand point breaks, and I'm hoping he can just carry that form through again. Next up I'm going for Wiggly Dontas, on the proviso that this may change. change. We aren't aware of the 2 wildcards yet, and I am considering going for the wildcard in the non-John Florence round 1 heat, so I'm just going to wait and see who that is. If you'd like to see if I make any changes and selections to my teams, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, links in the description below, and I will update everybody via there, but it just won't be enough time to get a video up before the event. But for now, Wiggly Dontas I think is a pretty good selection for his price. He's only got 2 previous results at Bells Beach when he finished in round 2 in 2015, which is obviously pretty poor, having not won a heat, but in 2016 he made it all the way to the quarters. So I think for the price, when you're looking at guys at this level, they're either unknowns or risky options. I think he's the least risky for me. Although he's got Julian and Seabass in his round 1 heat, they're both guys who can surf really well, but they can also put in shocker heats and let themselves down to upsets sometimes. So I think this could be one of the heats that falls under that sort of bracket. Finally, rounding off my 8 surfers on Surfer Mag, I am going for Nat Young. $1,500 is an absolute steal. He absolutely destroys Bells Beach on his backhand. You want proof? You only need to look at the fact he finished in the quarters in 2016 and the semis in 2015, and to me $1,500 looks pretty damn attractive. For the sake of making this look a good option, let's just ignore the round 3 finish in 2014, shall we? So at the time of picking my teams and writing my scripts, the World Surf League hadn't been kind enough and up to date enough to do their fantasy version so you could pick your selections despite it being like 2 days or less than a day away, or less than 2 days away. Anyway, it's really close, which was kind of annoying. I have just checked prior to filming this video and the team selections are up now, and unfortunately there were quite a few different selections I've had to make, whereas normally the teams end up being pretty similar save for a couple of guys. This time there's quite a few different, and I have really annoyingly not had chance to look at the selections. So a bit of a cop out this time, guys, I'm sorry, due to the quick turnover between events. I thought I'd rather get a video up than skip an event. So here's my team, although I don't have full facts for all the guys. So my tier A was pretty straightforward. I could pull 2 guys straight over from my Surf Mag team, which is John Florence and Geordie Smith. I was tempted to go Connor Coffin in this bracket. As I said, he's in my other team too, but I've lost too many points from trying to make smart ass selections and play the tactical game or choosing people who other people weren't going to pick. Tier B is where it starts to get a bit different. I've gone for Mick Fanning, who I also had in my other team, so I won't go into any more detail there. Next up, I've gone for Joel Parkinson. Joel, it's a wave I think would suit him really well. I don't have his previous form for the event, but I do vaguely remember when I was looking at the other guys, he did have some pretty good results there and some fairly mediocre ones. So he's arguably a bit hit and miss, but I think most guys in this category are. Same for Kelly Slater. He's had some poor results over the years, but he's had some amazing results over the years. Looking at previous form, his boards that he was riding at Snapper looked amazing in point breaks and really quick. So hopefully if he's on something similar and it matches the surf, it could pull across quite nicely. Also looking at the surf forecast, it did seem that we're in for some fairly decent surf at the start of the event. Wrapping up my ill-researched tier B, I'm rounding out with Julian Wilson. Julian and Joel were guys who I did actually have in my Surf Mag team and dropped to help me afford John. As I say, I don't actually have the notes and the research on their previous form, but both of them had actually had some good results and some poor results there in the past. Julian drives me crazy, to be honest. I absolutely love his style of surfing and his way of surfing, but it just doesn't seem to translate well competitively a lot of the time, and he just won't be in the right place at the right time. I'm sure it annoys him a hell of a lot more than it annoys me. For that reason, I hate to curse him by putting him in my team, which is what putting people in my team seems to does at the moment. But I do think Julian seems to do well in waves which are suited to turns, even though I see him as an amazing aerial surfer. Surfing waves which don't give him that great opportunity for airs on every waves seems to tame him a bit, make him do some rail turns, which he's actually really strong at. So I think he could be a bit of a, I don't want to say a wild card or an outsider, because he's ultimately a super strong surfer in these waves, but he's not the first person you'd think. He's not the Mick Fanning, the Joel Parkinson, the Geordie Smith type surfers. Rounding out my team is 2 guys who I have managed to pull across from my Surfer Mag. So Nat Young and Zeke Lau. I've explained previously why they're in my team, so I won't go into it any further. I hope you guys can appreciate the rush nature of this video given the quick turnaround, which is amazing for surf viewing because it means we get to keep watching surfing and we keep having our social media feeds full of awesome surf related news. But it also means that I just don't simply have the time to do these videos in the way that I normally would. So I hope you appreciate that I prioritise getting a video up rather than missing one out totally. If you're a regular viewer to the channel, you'll know that they're normally a bit more detailed than this. If you're not, whack that circle button. It will subscribe you to my channel and you'll get a chance to see my next Fancy Surfer video for the next event, which will be hopefully a bit more detailed. If you want to see something totally different, because this isn't all we do at the channel, whack that rectangle button up there. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope I'll see you soon. See you later, guys. That really hurt my wrist. Don't do that.